Hey guys, it's Graham. What's crackin'? I finished a Western today, and it's not often that I read a Western that isn't just something by Louis L'Amour, or else some kind of speculative Western. But last month in December, I read a Christmas Western, and it was my first book ever by William Johnstone, who's kind of the big name in contemporary Westerns. When I did read at least about Westerns as a little kid, I was always told that the dedicated audience of Western literature is one of the most meticulous and picky when it comes to historical facts, down to the point of knowing when a certain gun was made in a certain year, or what type of lever action or single action or whatever, down to the minutia of all that. And if a writer got that wrong, the readers were very unforgiving of it. And I remembered feeling kind of intimidated by that, because then I felt like I wasn't the kind of reader that could read a Western, because I didn't know all of that stuff in my teens. It was a dumb idea to have. It was me kind of misinterpreting that assessment of the audience. But along with that mindset, it's I've kind of carried that into my adult years, thinking that eventually there wouldn't be an audience for Westerns, because there would be a shortage of people that could write those kinds of details into it. Nevertheless, if you go over to the Western sections and you look past the L'Amour stuff, there are a couple of guys that are still writing in that genre today. There was one of them that I tried reading last year, and I didn't really get into it. I don't even remember the title of it. I just didn't finish the book. But after trying that Christmas Western last month, I said, this guy writes really well, William Johnstone. I want to read more stuff of his. So I saw what the library had, and I picked up the first in a series about a cowboy who, I kid you not, his name is Perley Gates. Perley is a family name, and it's not spelled Pearly as in the gates of heaven behind St. Peter and all that. But he's got to constantly, introduce himself as such. It's kind of like Michael Clark Duncan's character in The Green Mile. My name's John Coffey, just like the beverage, but it's not spelled the same. Perley Gates in this book, he's it's a post-Civil War Western, and he's a character who's sent out by his mother to go find his missing grandfather, who he's never met, and for whom he is named. Because Perley Gates the first, the elder, will say, he left to go, stake a claim to gold in the West years and years ago. And in the intervening years, his son, Nathaniel, died. And that's Perley Gates the Jr.'s father. It's not like there's a Perley Gates the first, second, and third, so it gets a little bit confusing. But basically there's the grandfather and the grandson. And so the grandson goes out to look for the grandfather and let him know that, hey, your son has died, and I'm his son, and I'm named after you, and my family is looking for you. The book then is a bit of a travelogue of, Perley Gates, the grandson, crossing the plains and dealing with bad men and evading loose women and stuff, and getting in and out of trouble. There's even there's one small town, I think it was in Colorado, where there was a shortage of marriageable men, and this one couple had 5 daughters and no sons. And the father wanted to get some sons-in-law, because that was the way that it worked back then. If you didn't have sons, then you didn't have sons and grandsons to work your land, and you ended up poor because you weren't able to develop and grow crops and all that stuff. And so he's trying to very politely pressure Perley Gates into marrying one of his daughters, but Perley's not interested in any of them. And then when Perley leaves, one of the daughters, who's very young, she finds out where he's camping with his horses and stuff, and she's like, "Take me with you, this town sucks." And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." And so she goes back to town and basically Me Too's Perley Gates, "Oh, he had his way with me," and the sheriff comes and arrests him, and he's like, "Dude, WTF." It was very well done, and I'm saying that from a position of almost being kind of tired of the book at about the 25% mark. I was reading it and was like, I'm really not getting into this, but I'll keep listening because, hey, I'm at work. And, about the 30% mark, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm kind of interested in seeing where this goes. And, by the halfway point, or probably before that, I was fully invested. I was interested in seeing where it goes. A lot of times when I'm analyzing what I liked about a book after the fact, I'm looking at what the character's arc is. What would he do at the end of the book that he didn't do or wouldn't do at the beginning? And, I will say that Perley Gates kind of doesn't have a character arc, but you can tell that he is changed by the experiences that he has. In a sense, it's kind of like I think Studio Ghibli is the wrong comparison to make, but hey, like, since I'm reading Jack Reacher, it's a story about a guy with a code and a set of morals and a set of skills who finds himself in different situations, and as long as he sticks to his morals, things turn out all right. Sometimes he doesn't have complete control of the situation, but he's got a guardian angel, we'll say, and things pan out. And I like that. He does go up against rough and tumble guys. There's the odd bit of profanity here and there, and it's the Wild West. There are loose women and stuff. At one point, he crosses paths with these two women that were robbed, and they are professional whores. They make no bones about that. But he's not interested in letting them ply their trade or hiring them or anything. He's just do the gentlemanly thing. I find two women who are in need of some help, and I'll let them ride along with me and keep an eye out for them until we get back to civilization. And no, I don't need to get in bed with any of you. I'm out here looking for my grandpa. I'm just helping people I find along the way. It was good and wholesome and refreshing, and I like that. And there's a series, and I want to read more. Perley Gates kind of reminded me of my good friend Brett Kane, who's just a wholesome dude. He's also capable of violence if it comes to it. He's a jiu-jitsu fighter and a woodsman and all that stuff. He's a guy that I want to be like in so many ways. And yeah, just reading Perley Gates kind of reminded me of my buddy. And there's a level of enjoyment that comes with that familiarity. So not that I think that I'm ever likely to put another Western writer on par with Louis L'Amour in my lifetime, but William Johnstone, he can cut the mustard. It was good. This is the second book of his that I've read, like I said, and I'm keen to read more. If I'm not much mistaken, actually, he is the author of a series of like outlaw westerns called Sidewinders, which my friend David J. West recommended to me, or has at least mentioned to me over the years. I didn't put it together that William Johnston was the guy who wrote those, but he mentions that to me because David's familiar with my writing, and he knows that like way back in the day I was working on a cyborg sci-fi superhero type novel where the main character's code name was Sidewinder, and he's like, oh well, it reminds me of Sidewinder. Here's this other series called Sidewinder, and it's a western. I'm like, it's probably not like my Sidewinders, but it sounds like a cool name. And now that I've sampled the guy's writing and I know that I like it, I'll probably go dig up some of those books and see what they're all about. So a hearty endorsement for The Legend of Perley Gates by William Johnstone. You guys know the drill. If you'd like to continue supporting my work here on YouTube, the easiest way to do it is to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And if you are so inclined, check out my Substack, crackerstack.substack.com, and you can become a paid subscriber over there. But if not, well, I'm just glad to have you along for the ride. Till next time, drive safe. See you out there.